I ask you today, if you knew that your thoughts alone could shape your reality, would you still worry, or would you dare to assume the life you truly desire? I ask you today, who is doing the thinking in your life? Is it you, struggling to piece together solutions, wrestling with circumstances? Or is it the infinite intelligence that governs all things? The greatest mistake man makes is believing that he must figure out the path to his desires, when the truth is far simpler. The universe is the ultimate thinker. It already knows the way, already holds the answers, already possesses the perfect sequence of events to bring about that which you seek. But so few understand this truth, and even fewer trust it. Instead, they strive, they worry, they doubt, and in doing so, they resist the very power that seeks to guide them effortlessly. Your role is not to think about how things will unfold. Your role is to assume the state of the wish fulfilled and let the unseen forces move on your behalf. The conscious mind believes itself to be the master, but it is not. It was never meant to bear the burden of creation. The conscious mind only selects. The subconscious mind creates. The conscious mind impresses. The subconscious mind expresses. When you understand this, you will cease to struggle, for you will know that the thinking, the planning, the orchestration of details, these are not your responsibilities. They belong to the intelligence that governs the universe itself. Look around you. Every tree, every river, every star in the sky is evidence of an unseen mind at work. The tides do not force themselves in and out. They are guided by an intelligence beyond comprehension. The planets do not worry over their orbits. They follow an order that has existed since the beginning of time. Does the rose strain to bloom? Does the eagle question the wind? No. They simply exist in harmony with the intelligence that governs all things. Yet man, in his ignorance, believes that he must think and scheme his way to fulfillment, never realizing that his very effort is the thing keeping his desires at bay. To let the universe think for you is to trust in the law of assumption. It is to understand that what you accept as true in your inner world must become true in your external experience. There is no exception to this law. If you assume lack, the universe will think in terms of lack for you, arranging circumstances to confirm your belief. If you assume abundance, the universe will think in terms of abundance, guiding you toward opportunities, ideas, and people who reflect that assumption. It is not a matter of effort, it is a matter of acceptance. The mind must be quieted, for a restless mind cannot hear the whisper of divine intelligence. Those who claim they do not know what to do, where to go, how to achieve their desires, are those who have filled their minds with noise. They analyze, they question, they seek answers from the outside world, when all along, the answers are within. When you release the need to control, when you step into the stillness of absolute faith, you will come to know that the universe has already thought for you. The way is prepared. Your only task is to accept it. Doubt is the destroyer of all manifestation. The moment you question, you interfere with the work already set in motion. To assume is to know, and to know is to be unshakable. Those who live in the end, those who walk in the confidence of their fulfilled desires, never concern themselves with the details. They are not troubled by appearances, for they understand that appearances are merely the shadows cast by past assumption. They remain steadfast, unwavering in their conviction, and the universe thinks for them accordingly. Do you believe that the forces that govern galaxies are incapable of arranging the details of your life? The intelligence that brought you into existence, that beats your heart without your command, that breathes life into all things. Do you think it does not know how to fulfill your desire? It is not the universe that hesitates, it is you. It is not the universe that questions, it is you. And in that questioning, in that hesitation, you delay the very thing you seek. To let the universe think for you is to surrender completely. It is to wake up each morning and move through life as though your wish is already fulfilled, knowing that unseen forces are already in motion. It is to be free of worry, free of doubt, free of the need to force outcomes. The one who trusts in the unseen is the one who manifests with ease, for he understands that he is not the doer, he is the assume. And once an assumption is made, the universe does the thinking, the arranging, the unfolding. If you would only step into the state of your fulfilled desire and remain there, you would see how effortlessly life transforms. The right opportunities would present themselves. The right ideas would flow. The right people would appear, all without strain, without struggle. The universe does not require your effort. It requires your alignment. It does not ask you to work harder. It asks you to believe. When you assume your desire as a fact, when you occupy that state fully, the unseen intelligence begins to think for you, bringing into your awareness only that which aligns with your assumption. But the moment you fall into doubt, the moment you return to questioning, you break the connection. You begin thinking with a limited mind, and in doing so, you disrupt the work of the infinite mind. The most effortless manifestations are those that require no second thought. The moment you assume something naturally, the universe thinks for you in that direction. And before you know it, the assumption has become reality. Stop seeking, stop asking how, stop attempting to control what is beyond your conscious ability to orchestrate. Instead, assume, believe, and let the intelligence that governs all creation do what it has always done. Bring into existence that which is already established in the unseen. The moment you release, the moment you let go, the moment you step into the knowing that it is already done, you will see the truth. The universe has been thinking for you all along. I ask you today, what do you assume to be true? Not what you wish for, not what you hope for, but what you accept as reality. For that is the only thing that matters. You do not receive what you want. You receive what you assume to be real. This is the great secret of creation. The world does not respond to empty desires. It reflects only the state of consciousness you occupy. If you wish to change your life, you must first change your assumption. Every experience, every event, every person you encounter is a mirror, reflecting back to you what you have assumed about yourself and the world. You may believe that circumstances are shaping your beliefs, but in truth, it is your beliefs that shape your circumstances. The outer world is nothing more than the expression of the assumptions held within. A man who assumes himself to be poor will encounter poverty at every turn, no matter how hard he struggles to escape it. A man who assumes himself to be wealthy will find riches flowing to him, even if he begins with nothing. It is not chance, no fate, no effort that determines his outcome. It is assumption. The mind is constantly at work, accepting ideas and impressing them upon the subconscious. But the subconscious does not question. It does not judge. It simply accepts and creates. If you assume failure, the subconscious will set the stage for failure. If you assume success, the subconscious will arrange the circumstances for success. This is not philosophy, this is law, and there is no exception. Every man lives within the world of his own assumptions, whether he realizes it or not. To assume a state is to think from it rather than of it. Most people make the mistake of thinking of their desires, seeing them as something separate, something distant, something they must reach for. But the moment you see something as apart from you, you have declared that it is not yet yours. And as long as you hold that assumption, it cannot be yours. Instead, you must think from the state of the wish fulfilled. You must assume that you already are the person you desire to be, that you already possess what you seek, and having assumed it, you must persist in that state, allowing no room for doubt, no space for contradiction. There is no power in wishing. A man may wish for health, yet if he assumes himself to be ill, he will remain so. A man may wish for love, yet if he assumes himself to be unworthy, he will continue to experience loneliness. Wishes are weak, assumptions are powerful. The one who assumes dominion over his own mind, who carefully selects only those ideas he desires to see reflected in the world, is the one who becomes master of his destiny. The world will not contradict your assumptions. If you believe that success is difficult, that life is full of struggle, that happiness is fleeting, then your world will shape itself to prove you right. If you assume that opportunities come easily, that you are favored, that your desires are effortlessly realized, then the world must conform to those assumptions as well. It is not the external world that holds power over you. It is your inner state. You need not concern yourself with the how, for that is not your responsibility. The assumption itself is the seed. The universe provides the soil, the rain, the sun. Your only task is to remain in the state of the wish fulfilled. If you plant an apple seed, you do not dig it up each day to check if it has grown. You do not question whether it will bear fruit. You simply know that it must. The same is true of assumption. Once you have assumed a thing to be true, once you have accepted it fully within, it must take root and express itself in the world around you. The reason so many fail to manifest their desires is because they do not persist in their assumptions. They allow the evidence of the senses to shake their faith. They assume wealth in the silence of their minds. But the moment they see a bill they cannot pay, they return to the assumption of lack. They assume love, but at the first sign of loneliness, they sink back into despair. They waver, and in doing so, they undo the very work they have begun. The law is precise. It will not bring you what you assume for a moment and then abandon. It will bring you only what you persist in assuming, what you claim as already yours, what you occupy as your dwelling place. If you would only assume and remain faithful to that assumption, you would see the world bend to your will. The right people, the right circumstances, the right opportunities. All would appear in perfect sequence, not because you force them, but because assumption has its own wisdom. It knows the way better than you do. Your task is not to interfere, not to question, not to demand immediate proof. Your task is to remain steadfast, to dwell in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and to let the unseen forces move on your behalf. There is no force greater than the power of assumption. It is the foundation of all creation, the unseen architect of reality. Every great achievement, every invention, every revolution began as an assumption. The men and women who changed the course of history did so because they assumed a reality that did not yet exist. And in assuming it, they made it so. The same power that shaped the world is within you, waiting to be claimed, waiting to be used. But it will only respond when you have the courage to assume boldly, to believe fully, to persist unwaveringly. So I ask you again, what do you assume to be true? For that and that alone will determine the life you live. I ask you today, if you could feel with absolute certainty that your desire was already yours, would you not walk differently? Would you not speak with a quiet confidence, move through life with a sense of assurance, knowing that what you seek is already a reality? This is the key, the great secret, the force that separates those who manifest with ease from those who struggled in vain. To feel the reality before it appears is to command the unseen forces that shape all things. The world you see is nothing more than the outpicturing of the state you dwell in, and that state is determined not by what you wish for, but by what you feel to be true. Most people believe that feeling is a reaction to the external world. They wait for circumstances to change before they allow themselves to feel successful, abundant, loved, or fulfilled. But this is the great mistake, for it is not the world that dictates your feelings. It is your feelings that dictate the world. The unseen reality exists long before it is made visible. What you feel now, in this very moment, is shaping what will come. If you wish to experience something in the future, you must assume it now. The delay in manifestation is never due to an external obstacle. It is always due to an inner resistance, a failure to sustain the feeling of already being what you desire to be. The law is precise and unfailing. If you persist in the feeling of already having that which you seek, it must become your reality. It is not a question of if, it is a question of your willingness to believe in the unseen, to accept the truth of your assumption before the evidence appears. The world has taught you to rely on your senses, to trust only in what can be measured, seen, and touched. But reality is not built from what already exists. It is built from what is assumed to be real. Every great achievement, every success, every transformation first began as a feeling, a deep, unwavering sense of already having, already being, already possessing. Close your eyes and step into the scene of your fulfilled desire, not as an observer, not as one who longs for it, but as one who already owns it. How do you feel? What do you see? What do you hear? How does the world around you confirm the truth of your assumption? If you can hold to this feeling, if you can let it consume you until it becomes more real than your present circumstances, then you have planted the seed of manifestation. You do not need to force it to grow. You need only to sustain the feeling, and the unseen intelligence that governs all things will bring it forth in perfect order. Doubt is the only thing that disrupts this process. The moment you question, the moment you seek confirmation from the outside world, you have already undone the work. If you plant a seed and each day dig it up to see if it has sprouted, it will never take root. You must leave it undisturbed, trusting that the process is unfolding even when you cannot yet see it. The same is true for your desires. Once you have assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled, once you have stepped into the state of already possessing it, you must persist. Let the world say what it will. Let appearances deceive those who do not understand, but you must remain unwavering. Many believe they are practicing this principle, but they make a subtle and critical mistake. They pretend rather than assume. To pretend is to act as if something is true while secretly believing it is not. But to assume is to know it is already done. There is a world of difference between the two. Pretending will bring only frustration, for it is built on effort and deception. But assumption, when truly accepted, requires no strain. It is effortless because it is real to the one who assumes. The moment you fully accept the feeling of already being what you desire to be, you no longer look for signs, for you no longer need them. You already know. If a man desires wealth but continues to feel lack, he has not yet assumed the state of wealth. If a woman longs for love but continues to feel loneliness, she has not yet assumed the state of being love. The outer world is only reflecting what is felt within. You cannot outmaneuver this law. It does not matter how much effort you exert, how many hours you work, how much strategy you employ. If you do not first assume the feeling of already being that which you seek, the outer world will remain unchanged. Feeling is the secret. It is the bridge between the unseen and the seen, the formless and the form, the imagined and the real. The moment you assume a feeling, your subconscious mind accepts it as truth, and from that moment forward, reality must rearrange itself to match. You will find yourself naturally drawn to actions, opportunities, and people that align with your assumption. You will say the right words at the right time, take the right steps without knowing why, and move effortlessly toward the fulfillment of your desire. Not because you planned it, but because assumption has its own intelligence, guiding you without effort. But you must persist. The greatest mistake is to assume a state briefly, only to abandon it when the world does not immediately reflect it back to you. The delay is not a denial. It is simply the unfolding of the unseen into the seen. Those who understand this law know that the outer world is always a reflection of their inner world, but with a slight delay. That delay is what tests faith, what separates those who truly assume from those who only wish. The one who persists in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, even when appearances contradict it, is the one who inevitably manifests it. You need not struggle. You need not force. You need not chase. Simply assume. Feel the reality of your desire now, and the world must conform. For the world has no choice. It is only the reflection of the reality you hold within. I ask you today, what are you allowing to dwell in your mind? For whatever you entertain in the stillness of your thoughts is what will take shape in your life. You may believe that the world moves by external forces, by actions, by chance. But this is the great illusion. Everything you see, everything you touch, everything you experience is first conceived in the unseen realm of mind. If you wish to change the world outside, you must first master the world within. There is no escaping this truth. The mind is the great molder of reality, and it works with a precision so exact that even those who deny it are bound by its laws. If a man wakes each day consumed by worry, fear, and doubt, he will see these very emotions reflected in his life. The circumstances that appear before him will confirm his state of mind. He will say, "See, I was right to worry, I was right to doubt," never realizing that it was his very acceptance of these emotions that called them into existence. Another man holding the same position, living under the same conditions, may choose to entertain confidence, peace, and abundance, and he will find these reflected back to him just as surely. It is not the external world that dictates his experience, but the state of mind he persistently occupies. Your thoughts are not passive. Every idea you accept, every belief you hold, is a seed planted in the fertile soil of your subconscious. And just as the earth does not question the seeds given to it, but simply brings forth whatever is planted, so too does your subconscious bring forth into reality whatever you impress upon it. If you accept limitation, if you accept struggle, if you accept failure, then these must become your experience. But if you impress upon your subconscious the ideas of success, ease, and abundance, then these too must be made manifest. The mind does not argue, it does not reason, it only accepts and produces. It is not concerned with whether an idea is beneficial or harmful, whether it is true or false. It simply takes what you give it and turns it into form. And so, the greatest responsibility one can take is the responsibility over their own thinking. For every thought nurtured in the silence of the mind is a blueprint for the reality that follows. There is no greater error than to believe that circumstances must first change before thoughts can be changed. This is the mistake made by those who live by sight rather than by understanding. They look upon the world and say, "I will believe in my success when I see it," never realizing that they will never see it unless they first believe it. The senses are the servants of the mind, not its master. They report only what has already been impressed upon reality, and reality is nothing more than the shadow of thought. If you wish to transform your life, then you must first transform your inner world. You must take hold of your thoughts and direct them with absolute intention. You must refuse to entertain ideas of failure, of lack, of limitation. You must become a careful guardian of the mind, allowing only those ideas which serve your highest good to take root. This is not an occasional practice. This is a way of being. The one who masters his thoughts masters his destiny. Many will say, "But my circumstances are beyond my control. I did not choose this difficulty. I did not invite this struggle." But if they were to look deeper, they would see that every experience they have encountered has been the perfect reflection of the ideas they have entertained. Life does not happen to you, it happens through you. Your assumptions, your beliefs, your mental diet, all of these work together to construct the world you call real. If there is any aspect of life you wish to change, you need not look outward, you need only to look within. But this requires discipline. The mind left unchecked will wander into old patterns, old doubts, old fears. It will be tempted to react to the world rather than create it. It will look at appearances and believe them to be final, rather than understanding them as the echoes of past assumptions. And so one must be vigilant. One must choose moment by moment what thoughts to accept and what thoughts to reject. This is the great work, and it is the only work that truly matters. For from this work, all else follows. To entertain a thought is to give it life. To accept an idea is to invite its expression. The question is not whether the mind creates, for it is always creating. The question is only what it is creating. Are you feeding thoughts of abundance or thoughts of lack? Are you dwelling in confidence or in fear? Are you assuming success or expecting failure? For whatever you assume will become your experience, and there is no exception to this rule. Once a new idea is firmly impressed upon the mind, it will move into expression in ways you cannot foresee. You do not need to concern yourself with the how. You need only to remain steadfast in your assumption. If you have planted the seed of success, then success must come, even if it appears at first that nothing is happening. If you have assumed abundance, then abundance must appear, even if the means by which it comes are beyond your understanding. The forces that shape reality are unseen, and they operate with a wisdom greater than our own. Trust in the law, for it is unfailing. The world is not happening to you, it is happening because of you. Every experience, every encounter, every event is a reflection of the assumptions you have made, the thoughts you have nurtured, the beliefs you have accepted. And so, if you desire to change any aspect of life, do not look outward, look within. Take hold of your mind and shape it with absolute precision, for the reality that follows will be its perfect reflection. I ask you today, if you could live in the end of your desire, if you could assume with absolute certainty that what you seek is already yours, would you not walk with a different air? Would you not speak with a quiet confidence? Move with an effortless grace, knowing that nothing stands between you and your fulfilled dream? Yet most people live as though their desires are far away, as though there is a chasm between where they stand and where they long to be. But I tell you, there is no separation, no distance, no delay, except that which is created by your own unwillingness to accept your desire as already fulfilled. Your assumptions shape your reality. They are not idle thoughts, not fleeting wishes, but the very blueprint from which your world is formed. Every belief you hold, every conviction you entertain is molding the substance of your life, whether you are aware of it or not. If you persist in an assumption, it must harden into fact. This is not a philosophy, it is the law by which all things come into being. Look upon your world and see it for what it truly is. A mirror reflecting your innermost assumptions. If there is discord in your experience, it is because you have accepted discord as natural. If there is lack, it is because you have assumed lack. But just as surely, if there is beauty, abundance, and joy, it is because you have chosen to entertain these states as real. You do not change the world by fighting against it. You change it by assuming a new state of being. If you wish to be wealthy, assume the feeling of wealth, not as a hope, not as a desire, but as a present fact. If you wish to be loved, assume the feeling of already being cherished, of already being adored. The world will adjust to fit your assumption, but you must first persist in the unseen before it can be made visible. Most people wait for evidence before they believe, but belief is the cause, and evidence is the effect. If you would only dare to assume your wish fulfilled with no thought of how or when, you would soon see that reality bends to the certainty of your conviction. The key is to live in the end. Do not think from the place of longing, but from the place of having. If you were already the person you wish to be, how would you feel? How would you move? How would you speak? Dwell in that state, and the world must conform. The mind is the only creator, and whatever it assumes to be true will be reflected back without fail. There is no need to strain, no need to effort, only the need to assume and persist. For assumption, sustained without doubt, is the force that reshapes reality. Many believe they must act first, that they must force their way to success, struggle their way to love, fight their way to peace. But all action proceeds from assumption. The man who assumes wealth will find himself drawn to opportunities, making decisions, speaking in ways that reflect his assumption. The woman who assumes love will move with an air of confidence, will radiate the very qualities that attract love to her. They are not forcing these actions. They are the natural outgrowth of the state they dwell in. The world moves in response to assumption, and those who understand this live with an ease that others cannot comprehend. If you assume something long enough, it becomes second nature. This is why the wealthy continue to attract wealth and the poor continue to struggle, not because of luck or fate, but because they have assumed their respective states so deeply that they have become automatic. The rich man does not wake each morning questioning whether he will have enough. He knows he will. The one who is loved does not wonder if they are worthy. They know they are. It is this knowing, this deep, unwavering assumption that determines what follows. You must ask yourself, what have I been assuming about myself? Have I assumed success, or have I assumed struggle? Have I assumed love, or have I assumed loneliness? Have I assumed ease, or have I assumed difficulty? Look upon your world, and you will have your answer. There is no need to seek outward confirmation. Your life is the perfect reflection of what you have entertained within. If you do not like what you see, then you must change what you assume to be true. This requires discipline, for the mind left unchecked will wander back to its old assumptions, to its old beliefs. It will seek evidence to confirm what it already knows. But you must train it, must direct it with intention. You must assume the state you wish to see expressed, and you must hold to it even when the world contradicts you. The test of faith is persistence, for the world always lags behind the assumption. If you assume success today, it may not appear instantly, but it must appear if you persist. If you assume love, it may not be seen at once, but it must be made manifest if you hold to the assumption. The unseen is always working, always moving in response to the state you dwell in. You do not need to manipulate, you do not need to chase, you do not need to beg. You need only to assume. The one who truly assumes does not worry, does not seek signs, does not question, because they already know. They are not waiting, they are living in the end, in the certainty that what they have accepted in their mind must come to pass, and so it does. Live as though your wish is already fulfilled. Walk in the conviction that what you have assumed is already true. Do not look to the world for confirmation. Look within, for all things begin there. And as you persist in your assumption, the world will shape itself in perfect accordance, for it has no choice but to reflect the state you have claimed as your own. I ask you now, are you willing to accept the truth that has been before you all along, that the world you experience is nothing more than the reflection of your own assumptions? That your deepest beliefs, your persistent feelings, your silent inner conversations are the architects of your reality? The power has never been outside of you. It has always been within, waiting for you to claim it, waiting for you to assume your rightful place as the creator of your own experience. You do not need to struggle, for struggle is born of ignorance. You do not need to force, for force is the tool of those who do not yet understand. You need only to assume, to feel the reality of your wish fulfilled, to surrender the how and the when, knowing that the unseen intelligence is already at work, orchestrating all things in perfect order. The universe does not require effort. It does not ask you to prove yourself, to justify your desires, to beg for what is already yours by divine right. It asks only that you believe, that you accept as real that which you seek, and that you hold to this assumption with unwavering faith. The moment you do, the world begins to shift. Opportunities arise where none existed before, doors open without force, circumstances rearrange themselves to fit the state you have claimed as your own. And so, I leave you with this. Assume boldly. Do not wait for permission. Do not look to the world to confirm your belief before you hold it. Assume the highest, the greatest, the most magnificent vision of yourself, and persist in that assumption until it hardens into fact. For the world will always yield to the one who knows who they are.